It is week 4, and Nick Bensen with Latham Seed is joining us again in our From the Field interview that we do each and every Wednesday. Hey, Nick, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to talk with you 2 days in a row here, Liz.
It is. It's great to visit with a friendly voice.
Yeah, it was a nice time yesterday over there at Jinx Farm, and to boot getting a really good lunch from Cafe, I believe it's Rosé's, is that right?
Yes, Cafe Rosé in Edgewood. They did a fantastic spread for us for lunch. That was, oh, so yummy.
Yeah, I think I could eat those sandwiches and that potato salad about every day for lunch if I could.
I think we could. Maybe we'll have to meet up over in Edgewood sometime.
Maybe.
So, Nick, let's get to talking about this week's topics. We're going to talk what a difference a week has made from how the fields were to how the fields are. Last week, the tractors were still rolling. We were planting and getting some things done, wrapping up, we thought, maybe with the corn and flipping over to the beans. What does this week look like so far?
Well, this week we had a lot of rain. One thing I'll say about that rain, though, Liz, is it was spotty in different areas. Just yesterday, I was over a certain area in Arlington, and I think he's probably planting today. He only had about a quarter inch. Now you go to other places, almost an inch and a half, like Jinx yesterday. They'll be done till probably Friday. And then with the rain in the forecast tomorrow, we're kind of, at probably a little bit of a holding pattern. So that rain, was a hit or miss thing. It did hit most people, but there are some people running today, and certainly those people are going to run till they can't anymore with the rain forecasted tomorrow.
Sure, we're going to get in as much planting as we can.
Yeah. So we'll get a few more, percentage points there on acres planted. Hopefully, move us closer to 90% on corn, and we're still in that 20% range on beans. We're not behind given the calendar, but I know a lot of people are ready to put the beans in the ground too.
And like you said, we're not behind. So we're in no hurry to get things done. We're not at that window to where it's a do or die situation.
Yeah, especially on the soybeans, there's definitely not a rush there. On the corn, we started losing yield percentage points here by the end of the week. It'd be great to get the crop in, but you could lose more yield planting in unfit conditions than you can, middle to late May. So still recommend good soil conditions before we get planting. Make sure to check the whole field conditions are fit. Go if we can, but boy, you don't want to plant in marginal conditions. And I know this time of the year I get a little handsy too to get the seed in the ground. Try to wait if you can.
Well, one of those ideal soil conditions is the temperature. How has the temperature changed, and what might that mean for our farmers that have already planted?
Temperature dropped dramatic. End of last week, we were into the mid-60s. Right now, this week, we're in the mid-50s. And so we dropped about 10 degrees. Hopefully that'll warm right back up this weekend. The good news is, Liz, is that temperature's above 50. So really, it shouldn't really impact the crop performance. It's going to slow it down. Crop's going to turn a little bit more yellow. It just doesn't look as good, but it really has no adverse effect. I did look at some beans yesterday there behind the machine shed when we were doing our call, and they had beans there that were just starting to emerge, and they were kind of a pale green. I think they maybe were wishing they'd go back in the ground, but they're fine as long as that soil temperature doesn't dip below 50 degrees again, especially on the corn there. So really, we're doing okay.
We talked about the wet soil and how it's very spotty. What does it mean for our farmers that planted and now the soil's too wet? Are they going to have issues?
I don't think so. Time will always tell. There's always a place somewhere where we have an issue, but generally speaking, the soil temperatures are going to warm up enough this weekend. We've been getting some nice lighter showers. We haven't had a real heavy pounding rain. Hopefully, we're not going to have that much crusting issue. Hopefully it warms up this weekend, and that will significantly help that seedling come out of the ground. That being said, we always have scenarios somewhere, so definitely get out there and look, make sure everything's coming up well. Things to prevent it, not planting in real wet conditions, certainly in the environment with a heavy rain. And then if we keep residue on top of the ground, that really helps. A full tillage, multiple tillage passes, so all we do is have black soil on top. That's a lot of times where we can lend ourselves to more crusting scenarios. But generally speaking, Liz, I think we're going to be okay this year.
Well, one thing that doesn't seem too affected negatively by the rain or really the cold temperatures, but sure, once that sun comes out, those weeds are just going to be popping left, right, and straight. And our farmers need to be on the lookout for that as well, correct?
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it. The next thing we really need to start focusing on, and I would even suggest before we put beans in the ground, if you haven't got your first pass on, we're going to have to spray, because you're right. These weeds are, as the listeners that aren't farmers know by the height of their lawns and how fast they're growing. I don't know about you, Liz, but last week it barely made it a week with having to be cut. But these weeds are really growing fast. Yeah, we need to get out there and take care of those weeds. I would really recommend spraying the weeds before we get in there to plant beans, because beans, we can plant those till end of June if we have to. But these weeds are going to start taking hold if we don't take care of them.
Well, Nick, our time is running short again this week, as it always does. Anything else you want to add for our listeners for today?
No, I think that'll do it this week, Liz.
Well, fantastic. Again, we're talking with Nick Bensen with Latham Seed. And if any of our listeners out there want to get in touch with Nick, just give him a holler on the cell phone, 319-415-2312. That's 319-415-2312. And if you tuned in yesterday, you did hear us talking with Shannon and Nick both about the need for some more dealers for Latham Seed. If that might interest you, well, then you can either give Nick a call or check out their website, lathamseeds.com. Make sure to check out the blogs, thefieldposition.com, and tune in each and every Wednesday afternoon for another report right here on AM 950 KOEL. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's always my pleasure, Liz.